and welcome, ladies, to our third Afterwork talk, and thank you for tuning in. This English version today was originally aimed at our international community in Luxembourg and Switzerland, but of course everyone from every country is more than welcome. And for me, it's a bit weird to talk into this little camera spot there all the time. So I just imagine a room full of chatty and interesting women, as we all have that all the time in our regional meetings. So at least I'm trying to imagine you're cheering up and applauding our panelists and myself now, and are excited of what's coming today. All right, so remember, this is a live chat, so whatever happens, please excuse us already. It's live TV. And since we're missing out on our physical regional network meetings, I would like to briefly update you on some of the things Vorfrauen is up to before I introduce my lovely guests today. First of all, we are very excited to launch our new Vorfrauen website on .com, both the German and the English version. We've been waiting for this for quite some time, and it will be a super exciting and updated website to the new state of the art, as we say, and this eventually brings now the opportunity for our English-speaking committee or community to become members, to enjoy our mentoring programs and all other benefits. So hopefully in 2 weeks we're up with that. Also, we really hope to be back with all our networking events by autumn, but still we will like to use this video formats or digital formats. We had already 2 in German language. This is the first one in English. We'd like to use it for webinars and educational pieces, so everyone can then join in their personal time and tune in and see what we can offer. So please stay tuned for that. Quite some tongue breakers here, so sorry for that. Last but not least, I would like to inform you that the nominations for our Vorfrauen Award started today. We have again 3 categories for Company of the Year, Role Model of the Year, and for a Woman of the Year. So please check out our LinkedIn profile. There's the link where you can nominate, share the profile, share the link. Don't be shy, nominate your company, nominate your colleagues. And of course, and the main thing is you can nominate yourself. So really don't be shy. The more nominations we get, the better it is. It's time till mid of July, and the whole award and everything else will be by autumn, hopefully in a event space, but we will also keep you tuned on that. Now, before I start with my great female guests here, I would like to really encourage you to participate. So this is like our network meetings. This is for you. We do this for you, for our Vorfrauen community. So the more questions you ask, the more we can talk to you about it, the better it is. You have 2 options here. In your dashboard down there, there is a function that says raise your hand, like this. So I can see this here then. And then there is an opportunity to open up the microphone, so you don't have to type in, but you can actually really ask the question. And the other option, of course, is to type in your question into the chat room. So either or, please make plenty of use of it, because as I said, we do this for you, our community. Okay, let's kick it off. Welcome to my guests here on the panel. And like I have it in my real panel discussions, I have my little notes here. So don't be surprised when I look down. That means that I'm just reading off my script. So, okay, so the first up will be a keynote with Sophia Carson. Sophia is conducting officer and head of product management at DNB Asset Management in Luxembourg. She has 2 kids, 3 and 6 years old, and was regularly at the office in Luxembourg also through lockdown. And especially because Sophia is doing our keynote, and the reason is she's passionate about leadership, and she's a certified coach and DISC consultant. Welcome, Sophia. So I do a complete round now, so after Sophia's keynote, we can dive into the questions immediately. So next up, I welcome Sabine Seid. Sabine, she's an executive vice president at Momentum in Luxembourg, one of our sponsor firms, and has also two young kids of 2 and 4 years old. Sabine as well went to the office regularly during the lockdown. Our candidate number 3 is Ebru Yalcin. I was just wondering because I said candidate, sorry. So again, this is live. I hope it's going to be entertaining for everybody out there. So Ebru Yalcin is Director Global Fund Distribution at PwC in Luxembourg. She still is working in her home office, and her 2 boys are a bit older with 8 and 11 years. Hello, Ebru. Last but not least, I welcome Ramona Morel from our newest sponsor, BNY Mellon. She's Director Business Development in Luxembourg, currently also in her home office, and her kid is already 21 years old. All right, so why did I mention specifically now the kids in the introduction? Because one discussion we're having these days is really that especially women with small children have additional challenges to face at home in a home office environment. And my role models here face them as well, which of course has an impact on their views and the best practice examples they will share with us. Our topic today is leading through crisis, how to turn adversity into an advantage. Women have already been labeled potential losers of Corona, as this will apparently push back all our efforts over the past years. On the contrary, we had feedback from our industry in our last talk that especially women prove to have fantastic leadership skills and qualities in special situations. Hence, our talk today shall inspire you all to listen to the community and yourself and have your coming out as a leader and nothing less. All right, so in the next 10 to 15 minutes, Sophia will talk us through how adversity can help us to discover who we and the people around us really are, and how adversity can close the gap between people. Please enjoy, and don't forget to use the chat function for your questions. So Sophia, the stage is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Manuela, and hello everyone who has joined us for this online session, and thank you for spending your time with us. So today we wanted to talk to you about leading through crisis, how to turn adversity into an advantage. Because there's no doubt that there is a crisis in this world right now. People are suffering and even dying. They are losing their loved ones and they're losing their jobs. And they're not able to pay their bills and feed their families because of COVID-19. But I was hesitating about this the past days while I was preparing for this speech. Because there's so much more going on in this world right now that even makes the COVID-19 look small. But the way to lead through crisis and stress and uncertainty is always the same. And this is what we're going to talk to you about today. But if we focus on the past quarter and the COVID-19, I think that we are probably some of the most privileged people in this world. We work in the financial industry in Luxembourg. It was never shut down. In fact, it functions very well. Perhaps we will experience the bigger hit later on. This we don't know yet. But it's multidimensional. Even if we are financially fine, we have all noticed the physical distancing, the new demands from the regulators and the clients. We might struggle to keep a balance between family life and work, or we are completely isolated from others. And we lose our routines. And perhaps people around us start to act and react differently. Often people do not see themselves clearly. So when the comfort zone disappears and the usual routines and stability completely change, they lose the illusion of who they think they should be. And they have to face the one that they really are. And sometimes it takes a crisis or a lot of stress to introduce us to ourselves. Some of my toughest experiences in life are those that made me better and wiser, because they exposed me to my character. And I'm sure that you as well, you have your own stories of when life was tough, but you came out from it as a better version of yourself. And even this season of crisis might just be the catalyst for you to become the person that you are meant to be. Now, we might even notice it amongst our colleagues. The roles that we used to have in the office has maybe changed. Maybe you have seen reactions and behaviors in your manager who didn't turn out to be a leader. Maybe you or somebody else stepped in instead. Because who has said anything about that a manager is a leader or that a leader has to be a manager? That is a big misunderstanding. I've seen leadership in people who don't have the title or the salary. And I've seen very senior managers who disappeared or didn't show up at all during this crisis. So questions about company culture, values, and mental health has again become relevant. People who want to lead with empathy should, especially now, start each meeting by asking people, "How are you?" And then listen. But no matter who you are and where you work, you can always do your part and lead yourself by showing a positive attitude. Because attitude is always a choice. However, during times of uncertainty, like now, it is very easy to fall into those old habits and get trapped in reacting to everything around us. The media, the stress, the client demands, maybe even the micromanagers. Most of us react more than we reflect. And we handle every task in every day like that. We react without reflecting. The intentionality and the proactivity gets lost, and we prove it by doing the same thing over and over again. I'll give you an example. How many of you didn't get all caught up in the statistics and the media reporting since February? We kept talking about it, we kept affecting each other with the worrying information we had just consumed ourselves, without having any thought about how people around us got impacted. Would you do anything differently if you reflected more than reacted? But how did you experience the past quarter? It has been different, hasn't it? Everyone can probably list some tough experiences that they have had during the past months. But it's what we do with these experiences that makes a difference. And it defines who we are. And like I said, we might get a harder hit later on. But when we understand that we can always turn a bad experience into something positive, then we are the difference makers instead of victims. And if you can't think of any bad experience from the past months, then you are probably already that person. I know people who already now work on their CVs and who ensure that they keep their networks alive, just in case. And as I mentioned, I've seen non-managers show up as leaders because the situation changed. And that will pay off for them later on. Or the salespeople who immediately went online with their meetings and the presentations, whilst others are still waiting for the situation to go back to normal. Or I know service providers who stepped up to be visible from the beginning, and service providers that struggles to deliver with the excuse that people are working from home. The difference here is that some people can't see the big picture during times of crisis and stress. And the most natural question for them to ask is, how will this affect me? Because they lose the perspective of how they are connected to everyone else. Let me ask you, no matter who you are in the value chain of the financial industry, Do you keep the big picture in mind? Do you stay helpful, tolerant, and flexible when your colleagues, your clients, or your service providers are struggling? Or do you just push through to get your own needs met? Even at home, maybe you or somebody you know has had a small picture focus. How many of you parents had to discuss with your partner about whose job is the most important? Or managers who had a small picture focus and forgot that some employees were struggling to be both employees and school teachers at the same time. A person who sees the small picture is only concerned with how adversity impacts them and their lives. They aren't concerned about how their actions might affect somebody else, only how someone else's actions affect them. The person who sees the big picture understands that everyone's included in that, and each one of those people has value and should be valued. Did you value people during the past months? Did you feel valued? I heard Simon Sinek say, companies are just a collection of people. Get to know, like, and trust your people. It's not so complicated. Look at your company where you work. In our professional roles, it's not about one person. It's about the company and everyone that works there. So as leaders, we have to look up and always see the big picture. And while we have been working from home, we have also got the opportunity to see more of our colleagues, the service providers, and the clients' private lives. People that we only knew the professional side of before. Casual has a new meaning now. We can't even be sure that people are fully dressed. And I recall one morning meeting I had in the beginning of the confinement with 2 young children in the house. It wasn't always so easy to get things right. So when the meeting started, I still had yoga pants, greasy hair, bad breath, but I managed to put earrings and a necklace on. And I showed up on time. But sure thing is that I did not look like I usually do in the office. And how haven't we seen the hairstyles of some colleagues change over the past 3 months? Not to talk about the hair colors. But I think that this is it's like when you meet the person that you previously only had email contact with. After such first meeting, you start to cooperate much better. And now we have taken it to the next level. Now we don't only know the people from the professional side, but we know what it looks like in their homes. We even know what their kids look like and sound like. And I don't know about you, but I have enjoyed this part very much. I feel closer to so many more people today. Not only for their outgrown roots, but also because most of us have battled something during these months, some more than others. And in a crisis, adversity makes you relatable to us. In the crisis, we are all in the same boat, and we can better understand what the others are going through. It makes us authentic, and that's what people will be drawn to during times of crisis. Adversity naturally closes the gap between people because everyone shares in the struggle. So if we as colleagues and leaders can be authentic, we become much more relatable and much more effective. And personally, I hope that this can be one of the things that we bring with us into the future. Because what I'm sure of is that after rain comes the sun, always. I hope that this introduction has given you some things to reflect about and inspire you to lead through crisis, no matter who you are, because a leader is not necessarily a manager. Thank you for your time, and I give the word back to you, Manuela.
Great, thank you so much, Sophia. There's a lot of things I could smile about what you just said, but there's one one important sentence is really that leadership is about people's business, and our industry is so much about facts, figures, performance, and so on. But we're all people, and as you said, people will work with people in a different way now, showing more empathy. And I think that's because it's a typical female attitude, talking about stereotypes here, why women maybe are becoming great leaders after that crisis, because they understand how important that is for the future. So let me check. There is no questions in the chat yet. I can only again ask kindly, nicely, everyone out there, ladies, don't be shy. Ask us our questions in the chat room. You can send it to us all so we can see it. You can send it only to me. We're happy to answer any questions. And now, well, let's kick it off with our discussion round. Let's kick it off with Ebru. So, Ebru, what have you noticed in people around you who showed up to be a leader, and as Sophia mentioned, not necessarily a manager? And can you give us an example of what they did?
Of course, indeed. So how many minutes do I have, Manuela?
I mean, 3.
This is actually a question I could answer for the next few hours, and there were many food for thought in Sophia's keynote speech, actually. But coming back to your question, so you can imagine in working in a company with like 3,000 people. I have many examples I can give you, but I will focus on certain examples which showed really up being the leaders. I will start from the beginning, even before the lockdown was, when we at early March, I think it was even on the 1st or 2nd of March, where we received the first communication from our CEO, John Parkhouse, where we have been told that they are monitoring the situation on a daily basis and that we will be informed. And then it went quite quickly. I think 2 days after, they set up an incident management team led by one of our female partners, who is also our operations leader. And then from that day on, we really received daily communication on what's going on, what's the situation. We have received recommendations that they're monitoring the situations. A dedicated COVID-19 intranet site has been developed, where we had, or where we still have access, what to consider, also the tax and social impacts for the commuters amongst us. So there were a constant communication, including an FAQ, where we could drop any question we have to the leadership team. And interestingly is also that this incident management team is divided in sub-teams, like, health, IT, building, HR, and they were equipped with people where you could reach out to them if you had any question. And then when the lockdown came on the 16th of March, where we have been all asked to stay at home and work from home, the communication was still done. We had a weekly video call with our CEO, including all the other experts, where we have given an update on the situation. At the same time, at the business unit levels as well, we had frequent video calls with the teams. For example, in our case, Global Fund Distribution team. So at the beginning, we had really every morning a call with the whole team, not on the business side, really focusing, but like how the people are doing, how they're feeling. Is everyone okay? How is it going in their families? And this is one of the aspects I really appreciate from the leadership team, that people, they're coming first, and that business. And then, I will keep it short. There are indeed some skills I'm expecting from leaderships, and which I also saw in the case of our company. The first thing is awareness, recognizing that there is a crisis, and this is not something which will just be over, pass by, and we will not impact it at all. At early stage, there was this recognition, awareness of, indeed, there is a crisis and we have to act. The second one is communicating with everyone on a transparent basis, like what's going on, if we have any cases within the company, how the people are doing, how we are moving forward, what are the priorities of the firm, linked with visibility. So not only communication in a written way by emails, but really visible with virtual calls that you can see your leaders really, and not only one, all the ones who were involved managing this crisis. And then of course the confidence, you know, that you are showing as leadership that we will find together a way through this crisis in a positive way. You know, not really suffering and saying, okay, we don't know where to go, what to do, whatever, but really in a positive mode. This is the crisis. This is what we want to do. These are the solutions. Here where you have access to what, you know, really managing the teams, the persons, the individuals as in a personal and professional way. And of course, what I found also very important, it's what Sophia has already mentioned, is empathy / compassion, you know, really seeing as your employees as human beings, not machines. So there are families behind, there may be people who, you know, where the parents are suffering or who have been infected themselves, or the cases like I had, people with kids at home, so you have to be flexible. And that you give the room to the people saying, we are all here together, we have to find a solution. If you have to be flexible, if you have to do homeschooling, if you have to take care of your kids, do it. There is no punishment, no judgment, nothing. You know?
Yeah, so to sum it up, that, and you gave that example, which is also an answer to one of our chat questions, and by accident basically, or because it comes with the topic, is how did your communication change, is the question from the chat, with your teams during the crisis. And April, you showed it, that the communication to use different ways, and not as we always used in an email, but actually to think about how to best communicate with everyone in the teams.
Indeed.
I have one question, and I don't know if any one of you had like new joiners in that time. So communication with those. Does any one of you, Ramona, Sophia, or Sabine, have a new joiner, and how that communication went as a best practice example?
Yeah, I mean, that's a real challenge, because the new starters obviously don't get the feeling for the culture of the company, because they're exposed to the manager and the team managers, but it's only a glimpse of who we are and what we actually stand for. So there is the issue of joining a new job, working with people you don't know, you have to get used to, understanding the processes and procedures. You have to deliver to the clients, which is then the manager challenge, because you still need to dedicate time with the individual to get them up to speed very, very quickly, and only by using the technology that we have. And I can't emphasize more, and I do that internally as well, switch on video. It helps. It really does help. It's not just the telephone, but then you can see the people. Like when you're on the phone and you're trying to explain something, and I look at you, Manuela, I can see in your face that does she understand what I want? The new joiners are probably hesitant in saying, oh, can you rewind that back again and explain it again? But then in the body language, you can sort of like see, you know, have they really understood what I'm trying to say here? So from a management perspective, you have to make sure that you deliver, but you need to spend even more time to get those new joiners on board.
And video is a good tool, as we can all see here, which is helps us to bring the community together and keep everyone motivated. Now, is there a contrary example on what you've noticed? Did you expect something from someone that turned out to be not the leader you thought? Is there an example? And I would ask Sophia, can you give us an example of a negative effect after the two positive ones?
Yeah, well, I would say that, I mean, my own experience from a very large financial institution, but also talking to people I know on the market, in general, the person that you describes is the person who would not check in with the teams, and who completely forgets to connect with the people, and forgets that some people might find this difficult. So they focus, like I mentioned, they really focus on this small picture. They might be fine themselves, then just assuming that everyone's fine as well. And people who turn to the tasks and forget about the people. People who push through without reflecting whether other people are ready or not. That I would say in general describes these people. I think we have all noticed them, and obviously we're not going to call them out here. But I think that it might be more difficult the higher up you come, because you get so caught up with the tasks and you still have to deliver and the financial aspect of this. But it's even then, like what you described from PwC sounds fantastic, that the top leader had that sense of still being so visible and checking in with the people. So definitely I've seen the contrary, yes.
I mean, indeed, I was, when I was thinking about the answer, I didn't want to show like that arrogant about PwC, but it's just a matter of fact. I was impressed myself as well about how the communication flow was created, really with these calls, but also as a team leader, we have been asked on a daily basis to call our team members and not to ask like if they are delivering, just to ask how they are doing, and if everything is okay, because we have many people living in Luxembourg, a lot of single people, they're just working here. Because of the travel bans, they couldn't go to their families, they couldn't go out. So we were really focusing on the people, and this was one of the main priority of the firm, retaining the people and to take care of them, So we were really asked, it was an objective of us, the team leaders, to really be after the team members and to see that everyone is okay. And just to give the example, what Romana was saying, we had also one person who started in March. Unfortunately, not the best time to start, but and I can understand, because the appropriation period is just is now ongoing. But we had to co-chair on a virtual basis. I mean, and we all know that it will be different for her with the appropriation period, because of course, as Ramona said, she doesn't know the PwC culture. She doesn't know really the technology we are using, the tasks. So she has to really learn everything from scratch. But we are really behind this and saying, okay, it's not her fault. So, as I said, I could talk for the next hours.
Ibro, you mentioned the point, it's you had targets to do that, and that leads us to our next question, where we would say, what is one thing you can do to stay positive in times of crisis? I would start with Sabine to bring her into the discussion. As the colleagues and leaders, we have all the possibilities to be leaders, but what is something for you to stay positive with the 2 small children at home? What is that you can say about that?
Well, the thing that I can say about it is, I'm a positive person, always, not only in times of crisis. So I always go for that quote of Albert Einstein, who is saying, "In the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity." So that is where I catch myself, and I try to focus on, not to see all the negative aspects, to see the positive aspects, to see what we can take out of it, and how we can improve, personally, but also from a company's perspective. And that's the way I see it.
Do you have one example you want to share? One thing?
Well, the first thing I would, we probably come to that also during the discussion. But so there's one thing, we all see that the home office situation works. I mean, everybody was shocked and panicking because we had to do this from one day to the other, no preparation time, nothing. And this really showed that it works. I mean, if everybody has to adapt quickly and has to work together, even though they actually didn't want to, maybe. But in these situations, everybody has to do it, and at the end, people see it works. And so that was a big surprise. And you know, we adapted our work situation also within the company, and we really would like to offer also home office solutions going forward. So this is a very positive aspect which I take out of this.
Excellent. Ramona, do you have a different positive example?
I just wanted to add, you know, the thing that I always reflect on is that I need to accept the things that I can't change. And there are some things that are within my control to change. And for example, going into the public and wearing a mask, I can't change that, right? I have to do that. But creating a positive environment stays with me. Right, that's my obligation, and similar to Sabina, I'm a very positive person. I don't get hung up on the negative things, but we mustn't forget that not everyone is equally the same, right? So coming back in the context of your working environment, you know your staff, you know your teams, you know who's introverted, who's extroverted, which are likely to have more problems in dealing with these difficult situations. And because I am positive, you know, when I go into meetings, I need to take that positivity and take it across. And with regards to myself, you know, the main focus is health. We all need to stay healthy, because if I'm not healthy, I'm not functioning for my family, although my daughter is 21, but don't underestimate the effort with the 21. You got your work environment, you got your teams, and then back to Sabina's point, every single day, particularly within the first 2 to 3 weeks, something new came up. Yeah, there was another challenge. You thought you just overcome a challenge, and then there was the next one. And here I must say, you know, I've been personally really, really impressed with technology. And the way that the technology guys have helped us to get where we need to be on a daily basis. And everyone knows this running joke about, oh, have you called IT? I got a problem. And they said, did you switch off your PC and have you turned it on? Well, we didn't hear any of that. And I had one scenario, I logged in at 7:30 in the morning, nothing worked. Nothing worked. I couldn't get connected. I couldn't get emails. The telephone wasn't working. It wasn't replicating email. And there was one IT guy on standby, and I called him, and he fixed it with me. It took us 3 hours, but he fixed it with me. He stayed online with me and walking me through, and we need to try this, and we should do this. And it's this, these are kind of people that are not at the front line, but they started to realize without them, we're not getting anywhere. And I think that has a lot to do with, you know, the positive attitude that you have creates positive experiences. It's going to come back to you.
Absolutely. So we talked, we had some different answers, and very often we start the perspective on ourselves, of course. So why do you think, Ebru, that our default response to a crisis is to shrink our perspective always first to just ourselves?
I think this is a natural habit, I would say, because usually in a crisis, the people's minds turn into first in their own survival and other basic needs, like, you know, will I be sick? Will I be hurt? What will happen to my family? Who will care for us if anything is happening? I think this is just really back to basics, to the natural needs of a human being. That's why I think I would say, from a personal point of view, it's really when you have first the crisis and you see what's happening around you, it's really that you're turning into yourself and just your small family and saying, okay, what's about us? I have to take care about myself and my family. I think this is totally natural. And by time, when you're just coming back to the question you asked before, being positive, when you see being thankful, nothing is with you, then you are starting again having the bigger picture, saying, okay, what's about the other people around me? And maybe there are people, unfortunately, which have less, which are less lucky than you because they have issues in their families, for example. I think this is just natural in a crisis, and that a human being is just selfish at the first point, and then the others.
Is that for everyone, Sophia, out of your experience and your trainings on leadership?
But I think that if we don't, it goes back to the reacting and reflecting. If we don't decide ourselves to be intentional and spend time on reflecting, yeah, then we go into reaction mode, and it's very easy, like what the Hebrew explained, that we first of all think about ourselves, and especially when yeah, the cake is not big enough for all of us.
Yeah.
So
this brings me to our next question, and we're talking about relating to others. So how can being relatable to others be really beneficial in time of crisis? Who's someone you find relatable? What is it about that person? And one question for business, of course, is does it then impact effectiveness? Sabine, do you want to start with that?
Yes. I think there are, maybe I'm going back one step. For me, there are two categories of leaders, in my opinion. The first one is more of a traditional leader type. I would say these favor more the distance, keeping the distance with people, and they want to keep the clear hierarchies. The other ones are, they prefer being closer to the people, you know, knowing things about their private life, and prefer flat hierarchies and have a rather informal and casual relationship with these people. So from my personal situation, I always preferred the second way. I even hired actually friends and schoolmates who I've been knowing for a very long time, and I have to say I never had any problem with being quite close to people within my teams. I think they also didn't have a problem with that. Otherwise, they would have told me, and that's the point. I mean, being, you know, relatable means also being, at least in my view, more transparent, more open. You discuss things in another way, and you bring them on the table. And I think that is beneficial for the company and for the relationships, and also for the business itself. Because for me, those people are very effective. I'm not saying that they are more effective than other ones, but at least me, I have very good experience with that.
Ramona.
Yeah, I think one point to add to that is, you know, I always think you should practice what you preach. I can stand here and say, you know, I'm a very easy, approachable person. You know, I like to chat with the teams. I like to get the feedback. The one thing I have seen over the past couple of months, how little I actually knew my team, and how much closer I think personally I've gotten to everyone in the team by, I think it was Sophia who did in her introduction, a reference to every single call starts with, how are you? How are things? Are you healthy? How's your family? And then you naturally get into the stage of, you know, more a personal conversation. And I had a situation once where I was on a call with the manager for a regular weekly update. What's going on? How's the team? Blah, 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 blah. It was at 10 o'clock in the morning. And her son is 3. And I already heard the noise when we started the conversation. And she's like, yeah, he's been up since 6 o'clock. He's actually supposed to sleep. And you could just see her stress, right? And I said, look, you know, don't worry about it. You know, we can do this another time. No, she insisted. She wanted to have this call. And after 5 minutes, I cut the call short. And I said, look, you know, please take care of your child first. Make sure you calm down, because she was really, really nervous. And I said, we'll catch up this afternoon. And then at 4 o'clock, I sent her a message. Are you free? Can we chat? Yeah, her husband was available. He could take care of the child. Why not? I mean, you don't have to do it at 10 o'clock. So, you know, when I'm preaching open communication and take an action when you see that your opposite probably is not so firm in taking that decision, and open to think that they can take that call and say, right now is not a good time. Maybe us as leaders, we need to recognize that, listen, and really relate to the individual. And then you can make the situation much better for everyone.
We have, in the meantime, we have in the chat or in the questions from our lovely audience. So first of all, we get like a positive feedback about how much we all take care of our teams or your teams, which is great. So thank you for that comment. We appreciate that. And we're talking about, is that maybe a cultural strength of your country? So I don't know what country the lady is asking for, but we can kind of park that. Is that a Luxembourg thing with the taking care and the culturing? And I mean, Ramona and Ebro, you're talking, you are working for international companies or global companies, and that question is, but it's more diversified. It says that male top business leaders would not care about the people, but only about the money and the money they are losing. And what can team leaders and managers under such business leaders, the ones, the male ones who don't care, what can they really do when they are forced to lay off half the team, and how can they keep up the morale? Now, these are questions, and thank you for having that. These are questions we can probably talk another hour about it. So I would point one out, or would take one out, is the Luxembourg. Is this a Luxembourg cultural thing, or do you see that in the other countries you're working with? Is that the same?
I mean,
or
Ramona,
you want me to start? Okay, I'll start.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's a cultural thing. It's a message which comes down from top senior management, and there is engagement with top senior management as well. We have town halls. We have them more frequently than pre-COVID, and this is to address the situation because the situation is evolving. I'm speaking to my colleagues in Germany and New York and in Geneva, and it's across the board. I don't think it's a cultural thing. It's a personal thing. It's a personality, right? And again, I think if you're the one who takes the lead in engaging people and feel them really integrated, then that word spread. And is it ideal everywhere? I mean, we're 55,000 people. Maybe it's not ideal everywhere, but I can basically tell you, for what I'm in control of and what I can see, it works, and it makes people comfortable and easier to deal with their own situation. So I don't think it's a cultural thing. I don't know, April, if you see the same.
I agree with you, Ramona. Actually, I don't think neither that it's a cultural, neither a country specific thing, because I know also from friends working here in Luxembourg who lost their jobs. Actually, they hadn't had any really communication in the companies, for example, as we do have. And I fully agree with you, Ramona. I think it's really something personal, a character of a person. And I believe that this crisis, like any other crisis as well, is a good chance for people to show if they have leadership skills or not. And some prove that they have, actually, and some have proved that they don't have, unfortunately. And if you are a leader and if you're managing people's business, then you should really have this personality and character where you have this communication awareness, what I have talked about it before. That's why I don't think it has something to do with Luxembourg, actually.
So to add that question that the lady also had is, what can team leaders and managers under such male top business leaders who don't care, what can you do when you are forced to lay off the team, and how can you keep up the morale then in that situation? Sophia, would you want to take that on?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's not much one team leader can do, especially in a very large company. So the only thing I would say is transparency and communication. Sometimes that's the only thing that you can offer people, to be transparent, to be honest, communicate, let them ask questions, listen to them, sit with them. But maybe you can't change the situation, but at least you help them by making them feel that they are heard and seen. So maybe that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Can I just add something to that? There are certain things that are out of our control, and then when you get from the top, you know, you have to terminate 20, 25 people. That's a really hard thing to do. But then again, try to think about the positive. What can you actually do? Well, what you could do is you can go on LinkedIn, if they have a LinkedIn profile, and you can put a recommendation on the profile of the staff. It's not a lot you can do, but it's a little thing. And looking at the LinkedIn profile, for example, nowadays, it's quite normal. When you have candidates, you do look at what do they actually do. And then if you see, you know, that, you know, he's a really good performer, etc., that's something within your control. You cannot reduce the list of the 20, but there's certain little things that we can do. Just as a hint.
With the moral, and I'm as a moderator, I don't do too many opinions here, but I can just say that as a practical example, really being honest and saying I can't do anything in my role because I have to fulfill that and that. There's only two ways with this. It's either love it or leave it. So maybe you'll learn in this crisis with your lack of leaders or female or male leaders, whoever you have, but with the lack of leadership, that this is not the company you would like to work with. And they're showing in this crisis that this is something you're not happy with. But then maybe this is the chance you understand that you're never gonna get happy, either in a crisis or non-crisis situation. And this is just where you should leave. So I think that's a learning process too in this part. So we don't have any more questions. So last round of questions, if somebody wants to ask something. Okay, because we're nearly there yet. We can talk for 2 more hours. Maybe we do a morning show every morning now, breakfast.
Breakfast.
With the leadership specialists. Now, if there is no more questions, I would go for the last round. So everybody else can sit back, relax now, and then we can let everybody have their well-earned after-work drink. So, and this question goes for all of you. What do you want to bring with you into the post-corona times? Everyone has one example, please. Yes. So I start with Sabine.
Yes, I already said that before. We already changed work model in the company, and we offer more flexible way of working with home office, full or part home office wherever it's possible. And so we're paying close attention to people's personal situations. Corona situation really helped to convince anyone that evaluating people by office presence, which was the case, you know, before, is clearly outdated, and people can be much more efficient and productive and really start liking their jobs again if they can combine that much better with their work-life balance. So this is the positive thing that I take out of it.
Great, thank you. Ibru.
Oh, I was hoping to be the last one.
Well, you can.
Just one example. That will be difficult, but I agree with what Sabine said, and I would like to add, indeed, with all this crisis, I have noticed that that it brought us, the team, much closer to each other, and to identify people also with their strengths and weaknesses, and not to impose or to expect from certain team members maybe something where they're not good at, but to use their strengths more in different areas. I think this is, from a professional point of view, I think this is something I will work on it after Corona.
Fantastic. Ramona.
That's not really fair, because those two things were on my list as well. I mean, the other thing is probably to continue to focus on being kind to one another. And what I mean with that is that, you know, we have seen that when people struggled, within the teams help themselves to manage a certain situation, i.e., you know, parental leave. That's something we didn't discuss in this call. Obviously, people have the right to take parental leave, but that actually means that there are teams who actually have to cover that workload, and there were really proactive engagements by the team in recognizing who can help, who can step forward, how can we delegate that. I want to make sure that we can retain that sense of urgency when things need to be addressed. Don't look at everything as urgent, but really try to identify the urgent things that need to be addressed, and that will take a lot of the drama away in the future.
Great, thank you. And our keynote speaker has the last opportunity to say.
Yeah, I don't have much to add actually, because for me it's the home office, and I don't think we are asking for much. Nobody's asking for working 5 days a week from home, or not even 3. But I mean, for me personally, if I can work 1 day from home per week, it already brings a big difference. And then maybe for some people it's 2, I don't know, but this we need to organize. But that's something that I think, or I really hope that we will see more of. And hopefully the traffic situation in Luxembourg will improve with that. And then of course,
we will hope for that.
to be more personal with people at work. Well, not to shy away from that we are mixing it and that it shouldn't be mixed. I think we have also proven the opposite, that it's okay to show up without makeup and with, we see more of the families, and so that is as well one piece.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. And I think we have, all of us have some great ideas, and I hope our audience had some great insights, some great best practice examples they can take away with. I really enjoyed it. We had fun in doing this and preparing this, and I hope everybody else had fun in listening to us. So thank you very much to the audience, and of course to the panel. Thank you. You were great. We will, there's one request I will ask, would like to ask. We will send you a short survey afterwards, probably like later tonight or tomorrow, and I would really like your opinion how we did today. Did you like it? What other topics you want to see us talking about? We sure can talk ages and ages about a lot of things, so we were happy to see what you're interested in. And now everyone, panel and audience, please enjoy a great evening. Have that well-deserved after-work drink. I really hope we see you soon in person. We can start our regular lunches back in Luxembourg, hopefully after summer break. And then hopefully by end of the year, we might even have a bigger event so that we all meet each other. Okay, so tune in next time we're live. And thank you, everyone. And have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.